The Knicks postgame show is presented by Tri-State Audi. Visit your Tri-State area Audi dealer today. Tonight against the Hawks, Karl-Anthony Towns did his part, but Atlanta exploded in the second half. Trae Young with a great pass there. DeAndre Hunter had a nice game. Skip to my Lou. Hawks moving on to Las Vegas to take on the Bucks in the NBA Cup semis. Knicks are out of the tournament as they lose 108-100. Great to have you with us, Bill Pidto, along with Wally Szczerbiak. So what this means now is it's going to be Milwaukee and Atlanta in Vegas Saturday in a semifinal, while the Knicks now will go to Orlando on Sunday. We'll have the pregame at 5:30 and the game at 6. Knicks were up by 7 at the half, but they lost the second half by 15. What happened?
This game had a different feel to it. The Atlanta Hawks were treating it like a playoff game, and they just went out and grabbed it in the second half. It was an impressive performance. It was a dominant performance. They were the more aggressive team. They were the stronger team. They were the more physical team. And the Knicks have to remember this, because they're going to be in situations, if they want to accomplish what they want to accomplish in this season, which is win a championship, you better play tougher if you want to beat teams like the Hawks. This Hawks team has assembled a roster around Trae Young that is very big, very long, very athletic, very young. This team is coming after the Knicks. The Knicks have a bullseye on their chest, and they sent a message that it's not going to be easy for the Knicks to get through the East.
Two things here. The Hawks with 22 offensive rebounds. That's the most a Knicks opponent has gotten all season. We talk in the pregame. The Knicks were second in the league in three-point shooting at 40%. They shoot only 26% against a team with the worst three-point defense in the whole league.
Throw the numbers out.
All right.
Throw the numbers out.
I tried.
This was a game of wills. Who wanted it more? This Atlanta Hawks team, they wanted this game more. They showed it in the second half. They dominated the Knicks. The Knicks are a little banged up. Jalen Brunson's got bad ankles. It's not fun to play. You know, when you don't have your balance, you're a little bit banged up. They had an emotional, tough game up in Toronto. But this was an impressive performance by the Hawks. They've assembled a roster that's going to be one to contend with in the East with how young and how good they play.
Knicks in the third quarter, it was a third quarter of doom, outscored 34-18, and Trae Young 12 points in that third quarter, 12 of his 22.
He was really good, and Trae Young doesn't want to be a villain, but he's going to stomp on the Knicks logo at half court or whatever he was doing at the end of the game. That's not my kind of guy that doesn't want to be a villain. He came in wanting to send a message that he doesn't mind being the villain and shutting up 20,000 people that were fired up for this game. This New York Knicks crowd was into this one from the tip. DeAndre Hunter coming back off injury. He's been plagued with injuries throughout the course of his career, but boy, can he play when healthy. Bogdanović, he was big contention for Team USA in the Olympics. This guy plays in big games. He knows how to win big games. This Hawks team came in with a mission and got it done.
All right, focus on the Knicks from downtown, only 11 out of 42. Look at the bench points, 43-14. Hunter off the Hawks bench had 24. And look at, as I mentioned, the offensive rebounds were key, Wally. 22 for the Hawks and only 12 for the Knicks. Karl-Anthony Towns, even in defeat, was impressive. 19 points, tied his Knicks high with 19 rebounds, and he filled up the box score. He had all of these 3 blocks. He had 3 steals. He also had 5 assists. Arguably his most complete game statistically of the entire season.
He was outstanding, but he's not going to be happy because they lost. And we've heard Karl-Anthony Towns talk about, I got a chance to play in big games in Minnesota last year. I'm playing in big games here in New York. It's all about winning. He poured his heart out there on that basketball floor. He was dominant in the first half. His rebounding numbers were outstanding. This team has to learn from this game, and they have to understand that if they want to accomplish their goals and be NBA champions, that they need to get better in a lot of areas. And Karl-Anthony Towns, he knows that. I think this team has got to learn from that. But it was electric. That dunk in the second half, a lot of guys were trying to get the crowd started. Josh Hart made a couple big threes that really ignited the crowd. Campaign, when he hit that 3 in the second half, crowd exploded. The crowd was ready. The crowd wanted this game big time. The Knicks just unfortunately couldn't get it done because they ran into a really good basketball team in the Hawks tonight.
We talked about Brunson, 14 points, his second lowest total in a game all season, and the Knicks 100 points, their third lowest total in a game all season. surprised by that? We didn't anticipate Atlanta playing such good defense before the game, did we?
Atlanta's long at every position. Dyson Daniels caused a lot of problems for Jalen Brunson, and Jalen Brunson set up his teammates very well. That first half, he orchestrated the offense, he ran the offense, he was moving the ball, getting a lot of guys involved. But when that game got tight in the third quarter, the Knicks didn't know where to go to get a basket. Normally, that's when Jalen Brunson can bail them out and go one-on-one and stem the tide when a team's making a run. He could not do that tonight, and the Knicks couldn't find any answers in order to get buckets. And the other thing I noticed, the 22 offensive rebounds, the quicker team to the ball and loose balls was the Atlanta Hawks in that second half.
So it's quickness on the Hawks side and not a lack of boxing out on the Knicks side?
Well, it's just a will to want the game and want the ball. And the Hawks showed that, they gave Josh Hart and company a dose of what the Knicks normally do to other teams, which is just out-competing them and out-willing them to loose balls into rebounds. That Hawks team, they went after it, they got it, and they got the job done tonight.
All right, we heard from Trae Young pregame. Doesn't like to be known as a villain here at MSG, but then he comes in here and makes all these plays, and he's skipping around and doing his thing. 22 points for him, and as we talked about, 12 in that decisive third quarter.
Yeah, he's so skilled. He's so talented. The game comes really easy to him. The high pick and roll has been a real problem for the Knicks all year long, and Trae Young is one of the best in the league at executing the high pick and roll. He's very quick with the ball. I think he gets away with a palm or two at least every single game. At some point, you got to keep him honest with the way he dribbles all over the place and keeps the defense off balance with the way he palms the ball. But he knocked down those two big threes. He was celebrating. And then when he continues to run that pick and roll and break down the defense, Knicks had no answer for it. He was finding his big guys flying through the air, getting those alley-oops. That was an impressive performance. This team has always been known as a great offensive team with Trae Young. Now they have assembled great defenders around Trae Young to also be a good, just viable defensive team. And we're seeing this team. They won 7 out of 8. They're really playing good basketball, and they came in here wanting to show the Knicks that it's not just going to be a cakewalk in the East.
All right, Wally, let us now bring in Monica McNutt. She helped call the game on the radio, ESPN New York. Monica, what's your take after watching the Knicks lose by 8 tonight?
I think of the teams this team has competed against this season, I think the Hawks probably have the most unique combination of athletes and depth. I think you could look at other teams and say, oh, that team was athletic or this team was deep. But I think for the Hawks, that combination, and then to Wally's point, you sprinkle around Trae Young having a career year in terms of 12 assists. They've got a really formidable roster. I mean, you look at it now, the 7 out of 8, that includes wins over the Knicks twice, over the Cavs twice, and over the Boston Celtics. So I think tonight, for me, it's a little bit more of a tip of the cap to the Hawks, if I'm honest, as opposed to a Knicks performance where we've seen some of the areas in which they were struggled with other teams, and the Hawks were able to capitalize tonight.
I'm with you, Monica. You got to give the Hawks a lot of credit. They played a really good second half. What can the Knicks learn from this loss moving forward in order to get better?
Well, the one thing that stood out to me, Wally, was the Knicks' turnovers. And the turnovers, the near turnovers, how many times did you see them sort of bobble the ball, or a person was a step out of the wrong place in the wrong direction in terms of that? So that's the first thing that comes to mind to me. I also, tonight, I thought that the first quarter had a good snap, crackle, and pop in terms of ball movement. But I thought beyond that, we saw a couple of plays that were called for McBride and Bridges, and late in the fourth quarter where there was more movement in the offense, that they were able to find some holes against this Hawks defense. So I'm just wondering about maybe a few more wrinkles. But it's tough to gauge, Wally, on a night where the Knicks didn't shoot well from the three-point line, because they have been able to do that all season long.
Knicks, as we talked about, Monica, only 11 out of 42, 26%. They average about 40%, second highest total in the league from three. Didn't have it tonight. And in particular, Jalen Brunson. We framed this pregame. You got Dyson Daniels at 6'8". You got the height advantage over Brunson, and Jalen only 5 of 15 from the floor. Was that a function of Daniels' defense, you think?
I think you got to give him credit, but I think as this team will play again when we see them again in February, right, Jalen Brunson is a student of the game. He's going to keep studying and figuring it out, as is the rest of this roster and head coach Tom Thibodeau. But I do think that if we compare what we saw in November when the Knicks it was like a 6-point game with 3 minutes to go or something like that, that team, the Hawks that came in tonight, was a different unit. They were healthier. Their defense is much improved. And the Knicks, while they were healthier, I think offensively, when they didn't have their best weapon being the sharpest in terms of the three-point shooting, and then Jalen Brunson obviously having a difficult night. It's just a tough night at the office.
All right, Monica, we are all going to Orlando. Where are you going to be?
I'm actually not going to Orlando. Don't be in my business, Pidto. I had this on the calendar for 2 years. I see y'all when I get back.
That's not right.
I'm sorry.
That is not right.
Wally's going to be there.
Stitches get stitches, Monica. I'll take
Family
care
wedding.
of him.
It's
Don't
fine.
worry.
I got a family wedding. It's been on the calendar for a while. I will not be there.
I'm going to take a Pilates class for you, okay? How's that?
Sounds good.
I'll take care of Pidto down in Orlando.
All right,
Don't
Monica,
worry.
we'll see you next week, okay?
All right, sounds good.
All right, we're all going to Orlando, going to have the pregame on location. Alan's going to be there. Wally's going to be there. And while the Knicks lost tonight, we'll be in Orlando on Sunday, pregame at 5:30 and the game at 6. Tom Thibodeau's Knicks not going to Las Vegas as they lose tonight to the Hawks by 8. Back with more after this.
The Knicks postgame show is presented by Audi. Visit your tri-state Audi dealer today.
The Knicks lose the quarterfinal game in the NBA Cup, losing to the Hawks tonight 108-100. Back now from the corner three, presented by Michelob Ultra Superior Light Beer. So with the loss tonight to Atlanta, that means the Knicks will be at Orlando on Sunday. We'll have the pregame for you at 5:30 and the game at 6. And then after that, the Knicks will be in Minnesota on Thursday night to go up against Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. Time now to listen into the postgame comments from Knicks coach Tom Thibodeau. As always, presented by Chase.
Yeah, it was a problem. Probably the difference in the game.
You guys were up 12 in the first half, 10 in the third. Just where did you see things start to turn?
I think when it got to be 10 in the third, we missed some threes, and then we started giving them a second and third shot, and so that was a problem.
Coach, you moved to the small lineup and called that into a foul trouble late. How did that kind of shift inside of the game?
Yeah, just searching. We had tried Carl, but with Precious, and Carl then got in foul trouble, so that shifted us. His foul trouble made us, different. But it's just you make a miss, you got to put your body on someone.
You haven't gotten to see it on yet, but what you thought of the Precious?
There's not enough, time yet to really evaluate that. Yeah, well, it's again, the difference in the game is probably, the hustle points. So, I think they shot 40, we shot, 42, 43, whatever it was. But the second and third shot, that was a problem.
And that 5-shot possession that everyone had, was that just like, is that lack of hustle? Is that bad luck? The whole rebounding?
Yeah, and again, I want to take a look at the film before, but it's, they're a very good offensive rebounding team, so that going in. I think we were +2 at the half, and then the third quarter was a problem, and they erased the deficit they had, and that went quickly, and then our energy dipped, and it can't dip. Missed shots are part of the game. You just got to keep fighting. You can win with your defense, your rebounding. We had a couple turnovers that were a problem as well.
You said the energy. You think mixing shots on one?
Part of it, yeah, part of it. And just, and they're long, and it was a physical game. So that's, but you got to play through that, and that's part of it.
Did you get the sense that that the refs were going to let a lot go today on both ends, or what did you think about the way the game was officiated?
Yeah, I just looked at who was refereeing. I knew what it was going to be like.
How much did Dyson's length and their overall length bother Jalen?
He's faced length, all year, last year, the year before. So, they're long. That their whole team is long. So, just got to read the game.
How do you think you guys did containing Trey off the dribble?
Yeah, and there's going to be, 50, 60 of those. So, some were defended really well, some not as well as they should have been, and some he made tough plays. But he's a great player. You got to guard him with your team.
All right, we mentioned this offensive rebounding for the Hawks, 22, the most the Knicks have allowed in a game in over 2 years.
Yeah, that's a lot. And that just shows that team was after it. They were aggressive to the ball. They were a step ahead of the Knicks. They pursued the loose balls off the rim, and I thought, loose balls on the ground. And that's something that the Knicks are normally taking advantage of, and that's normally their strength.
Cat comes out, he's got foul trouble. Achua goes in basically to the 5. Mm-hmm. Is that enough size? That was a real challenge there when Cat had to come out of the game.
Yes. Well, with Achua at the 5, you're small at the 5, and then with Anunoby at the 4, you're small at the 4. Now, Josh Hart is a guy that sometimes he can mitigate that issue because of his relentless attacking and ferocity on the boards. But he got outreached a couple times for those loose balls and those loose rebounds. This is a long, athletic team. They've assembled 2 deep at each position. You look, they got Okongwu at center, who's a very versatile, mobile, big, attacks the offensive boards. Then they have Capella, one of the best rebounders in the last 10, 15 years in the NBA. He's always a top rebounder in the league. So they're 2 deep at that center position, and they're healthy right now. Then Jalen Johnson, he's even taller and longer when you see him out there on the floor than a guy like Anunoby at the 4 spot. And then you come in with DeAndre Hunter, who is on a mission. Bogdanovic is a long 2-guard. And a strong 2-guard that is experienced in big games. So this team played very, very well. The Knicks got to learn from this one. Tom Thibodeau has to watch this film, break it down. But I think the main thing is the Knicks have to realize that all the expectations that have been put on this team to win a championship, be an elite team in the East, everyone else is a competitor in the East, and they see this. They see how the chatter of the Knicks is. They could win a title. They could win the East. And a lot of teams are gunning for the Knicks, and the Knicks have to get ready for that.
We did see Sims off the bench for 143. Ariel Hukporti was not an option. The G League highlight we showed you during the 150, Hukporti hurt his ankle during that game and was not available for the Knicks tonight against the Hawks. We will go into the Knicks locker room when we come back. Alan Hahn getting some post-game reaction as the Hawks tonight celebrate a 108-100 win over the Knicks.
The Knicks post-game show is presented by Audi. Visit your Tri-State Audi dealer today.
So the Knicks eliminated from the NBA Cup. They will be in Orlando Sunday, pregame at 5:30, game at 7. Jalen Brunson, 5 of 15 from the floor tonight, only 14 points. Here he is after the game with our Alan Hahn.
If there's something that we learned from this game, what was it?
A lot. Finishing possessions defensively. They had a lot of offensive rebounds. Just playing better in the second half. Just unacceptable.
Normally, you're a team that dominates the third quarter, but what happened in this third quarter that changed that?
Just wasn't our night. Just wasn't my night offensively. And then they got out in transition and tried to hit a couple key threes. And then once they went 9 or 11, and then they played well with the lead.
Team struggled from 3, missed, I think, 13 straight three-pointers. Did that affect the defense at all? Did you notice that?
It shouldn't, but we're all human, and that shouldn't happen. But at the end of the day, we can't let missed shots affect our defense.
At the end of the game, Trae Young dribbled the ball out, dribbled the clock out, rolled some dice on the Knick logo at center court. Any of that stuff bother you?
We should win the game if we don't want him to do that.
Wally, this is worth bringing up because we have seen this throughout this season. When the Knicks don't shoot well from 3, it tends to impact the rest of their game. And Jalen says, hey, we're human, but it shouldn't happen.
Yeah, it's a momentum thing. As a player, you can't win a game if you're not making your shots. I'm sorry. It's just how sports work. It's how basketball works. You got to knock down the shots when you get them. You got to create open, good looks. The Knicks are capable 3-point shooters. You can't hold a team to 0 points. So if you're not making your shots, like it's not going to affect your defense, but the other team is just going to be coming at you with a momentum that you can't stop, and that's what happened. The Atlanta Hawks became the aggressors when they took control of that game in the third quarter, and the Knicks just couldn't stop the wave coming at them.
Trae Young says he doesn't like to be known as a villain here at MSG, but when you dribble out the clock and then roll the dice on the Knicks logo,
that is not right.
That's not going to help your PR.
No.
All right, wrapping up the postgame show. So the Knicks at Orlando on Sunday, and yes, Orlando is undermanned. Their two top players are both out with torn obliques, but they gave the Bucks fits last night.
They sure did. They played hard. They had a 1-point lead under 1 minute left in that game, pretty much. So the Knicks are going to have to be ready to play. They're very good at home, too. Orlando gets after you defensively. They're going to have to learn from this one and pick up their intensity level for the game on Sunday.
All right, so we'll see you Sunday. We'll be in Orlando for the pregame and the postgame. Pregame at 5:30, game at 6, right here on MSG. And also stream our coverage on MSG Plus, now in the Gotham Sports app. Want more than just a post-game show? Link your eligible TV subscription to stream Knicks games free, or subscribe today in the Gotham Sports app. Just go to gothamsports.tv to learn more.